from the combine, by the way. Yesterday it's everybody's running 4.3, 4.2, and then Malik Willis looked good. By the way, let's just do something to start off with the combine. What are you hearing on Malik Willis? Because I thought between the homeless video, the podium stuff, his sheer size, I was like, those bodies don't exist on the market currently. What are you hearing about him?
I think he's helped himself as much as any quarterback here to this point. And look, there's still a long way to go, but all the quarterbacks came out of the Senior Bowl, I think, with some skepticism. I think each one of them, there were questions about where they are and how they're going to project to the league. And I think we knew all along there'd at least be one or two first-round quarterbacks. That's just the way that it works. I think Malik Willis has put himself in a position to go in the first round now with the way he looks physically, with the way he threw the ball during drills. And he has an interview. It's not like he's been off the charts from an interview standpoint, but he's plenty smart. He can explain the offense he ran at Liberty. He can explain the offense he ran at Auburn. He may not be ready to run a pro-style offense. So you're going to need to do some of the things that, say, the Eagles have done for Jalen Hurts early in his career. But he did show the capacity to learn. And that's such an important part of the equation with a quarterback like this who's coming out of a simplistic offense like Malik Willis is. So I think Malik Willis has had a really, really, really nice 3 or 4 days here and sets himself up, his pro days in a few weeks to go somewhere in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, listen, his arm strength is pretty clear there. He's pushing that ball. He does not have an average arm. That is what they call a plus arm. All right, so we all talk about Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to try to get into his head. But let me ask you, if championships are the key, should he remain in Green Bay?
Yeah, he should. And I felt this way all along. I thought last year, maybe he didn't have quite the appreciation he should for the team that he's on. And, if you look at that roster, how many guys calling on that roster right in the prime of their careers, in position to compete and win championships right now? Bakhtiari at left tackle, Aaron Jones at tailback, Devontae Adams, assuming they retain him, at receiver, Zadarius Smith and Jair Alexander both coming back off of injury on defense. Rashawn Gary looks like an emerging star. They've just got all of these guys that are either ascending in the middle of the prime of their careers or still kind of holding on, where you look at the team and it's built perfectly for an older quarterback. And if you look at the way that they've restructured contracts over the last few weeks, what are they doing? They're doing exactly what Tampa did around Tom Brady. They're setting it up so they've got a 2 to 3 year window, which is all that Aaron Rodgers asked for a year ago. He wanted them to build on his timeline. And that's what they're doing right now with the core that's there. So if the goal is to win championships, I think Green Bay is the best place. Here's the other part that I don't know enough people are paying attention to. Relationships are really important to Aaron Rodgers. And the relationships he had in that locker room last year were as good as any he's had over the course of his career. And I think that counts too. And so now it's on Green Bay to maintain the roster as best they can and keep those guys that he had relationships with, guys like Devontae Adams, maybe even Randall Cobb on board.
Let me throw this out there. The Kyler Murray situation is he's an interesting personality. So there are some guys that aren't paid yet. Like Dak Prescott forever wasn't paid. I never thought for 1 second Dak's going to hold out. It's just not his personality. He never gave me any inkling that was his personality. Kyler Murray's a baseball guy, quirky personality. Nobody's jumped to support him in the last week. I look at that and I think, that guy could hold out. He's giving me signs he's not part of some big collaborative effort. Is Arizona in more trouble than we think? Is this thing a hotter issue than we think?
Oh, I think it's something to watch over the next month. A lot of people, fair or not, have sort of viewed Kyler Murray as a different type of personality as a quarterback, where a lot of times the quarterback's the galvanizing personality. Kyler's a little bit more of an independent contractor. You even go back to, in college, he wasn't there, in spring practice a lot of those years because he was playing baseball. And I think, a lot of NFL teams, again, fair or not, have sort of looked at him as having the mentality of a baseball player, a little bit more individualistic. So he is capable, I think, of holding out. And my guess, Colin, is that they're going to push the issue over the next 4 to 6 weeks leading up to the draft. The reason why, to me, is if he were to ask for a trade, if he were to push his way out, I think he'd want to do it before then, because after you get past the draft, teams have their quarterback position set. and there wouldn't be as many options out there for him. And I think the timeline's a huge part of this. When they went to the Cardinals looking for a contract, basically the response they got, we're kicking the can down the road, and we're going to take care of you, and we love you, but we're going to take care of you in the summer. And I think for Kyler Murray looking at that, it's, well, what happens if we get to the summer and now I'm in training camp and it doesn't work out and we're not able to find middle ground, and now I'm going into year 4 without a contract? I don't know what the future is going to hold beyond that. His college teammate, Baker Mayfield, was asked to wait a year ago. How'd that work out for Baker Mayfield? I think that's what he's afraid of happening. So I think that's why he wants this resolved before the draft, because if there were a time for him to ask for a trade, it'd probably have to be between now and then.
Cowboys are likely to move off Amari Cooper. I don't love it. CeeDee Lamb had a catch, won against the Niners, had a case of the drops. Michael Gallup off ACL. Dak Prescott's numbers are stark with Amari and without. He's a different quarterback. I don't love it. What is it telling me?
I mean, it's telling you that the Cowboys have some cap issues to work through, and they've drafted really well, and this is sort of a high-class problem, but there are lots of players on their roster that they've had to pay, and there are guys they're going to have to budget for going forward. I mean, how much is Micah Parsons going to cost? Dalton Schultz, who's an emerging young tight end for them, he probably gets the franchise tag between now and Tuesday. Their offensive line is going to need to be turned over. Ezekiel Elliott, his money's guaranteed, so you're sort of stuck with him. They don't have a whole lot of options when it comes to finding financial wiggle room. And, I think their feeling is we have a legitimate number 1 receiver in CeeDee Lamb, and maybe this is a position where he can get away with a little less. Now, you look at the teams in the Super Bowl, Colin, right? Cincinnati's loaded at receiver. The Rams are loaded at receiver. They used to be able to win with less at that position. Maybe that's not the case as much anymore. And so I think that's where it's fair to ask the question of the Cowboys. But I do think a huge piece of this is just the financial reality of where they are.
Yeah. I'd move off Zeke before I would Amari. That's me. But
it's guaranteed. The problem with that is the guaranteed money, though. Like, they're going to have to – they owe him about $15 million next year regardless. So they're sort of stuck with him.
Yeah. All right, Albert Breer, Monday Morning Quarterback. Good seeing you in Indianapolis in a fairly drab hotel room, but you look fantastic. There you go.
You like the artwork?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.